Do you struggle with staying consistent with your content? Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes by sharing a snippet of a 1 hour content creation simplified session. I have with me Amy Rolfs. Amy is a health and wellness coach with a focus on diet and nutrition for women in menopause. Amy, I'm excited to help you figure out your project management software and a content system to help you stay consistent with your content creation. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a little insight into your struggle with content creation and consistency.
Thanks for having me with you today. As you said, my name is Amy. I'm an RN. I've been an RN for over 20 years. I am finding that I want to kind of shift a little bit some of my focus into doing some health and wellness coaching. And like you said, for specifically women in menopause, because I'm entering that stage of my life and just kind of finding that we need some encouragement to take care of ourselves at this point in our lives. So kind of excited about helping people navigate that. With that, I have done some blogging on different subjects before and have found that I tend to kind of be a little scattered with some of my content creation and not finding a good way of setting up a schedule or a system to keep me consistent. And so I'm looking for a little help with that and figuring out what would be the best fit for me to kind of make that work a little better.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Amy, for your willingness to let our listeners go behind the scene with your coaching today. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. And I know, Amy, from the past, you focused a lot on your love for Disney and the Disney run in particular to help people be able to learn how to navigate or register for those different races. So our big goal for this session is for you to walk away with a system to help you provide your consistent content. So I'm probably going to rapid fire a bunch of questions because I've reviewed your questionnaire, and these are the questions that I've come up with for myself. Your primary content platform is social media now. Is that still correct?
Yes. Yep.
Currently, you do not have any foundational content like the blog or a podcast. Do you have plans to change that in the future? And if so, what are you thinking you'd like to do for your foundational content?
Yeah, at some point I'm interested in moving to doing some podcasting.
So when I create your content system for you, that would be the system that you would want laid out as a checklist, the things that you would need to do weekly to create your podcast. Would you say that?
Yep, that, and then helping me stay consistent with my social media posting content and setting that up.
Would you want checklist items in there on how you can take and repurpose your podcast into your different social media posts to be able to promote that then as well?
Yes. Yep.
Do you want two separate processes for social media and for your podcast, or do you want it all in one? Or separate because you haven't started your podcast yet?
Yeah, probably separate.
And I noted from your questionnaire that your biggest struggle is to take the time to do it, and you're not a schedule gal. And if you're not a schedule gal, then how do you make sure those important things get done in your life? Because we want to make sure that your system that I create for you, it's going to be something that you look at and actually want to do, because I can set it up for you and give you the checklist. But if I'm not creating it how you like to think or how you like to do things, you wouldn't actually follow through on it. So do you just kind of want to walk through how you find your motivation and find your accountability with those things?
The first thing that kind of came to mind when you're starting to ask that question was that I know that I'm a very visual person. I now have a planner that sort of works for me because I can see, more than one thing at a time. I can see a week at a time and a month at a time. And so I can see all of those things visually. That works for me. I'm a list and check off. How do I stay motivated? Let's see. Probably, in this case too, probably accountability to other people, probably is my motivation for getting stuff done. Otherwise my house would probably be a hot mess if other people didn't live here and cared.
That's good to know. I kind of figured you were an outside accountability person. And then do you have anything specifically that holds you back from taking the time to create your content? Are there certain roadblocks that you come up against, whether it's a certain thought that you're having around creating your content?
Roadblocks are getting distracted, kind of getting off track of what I want my message to be, kind of that shiny object syndrome. You see the other thing, you're like, oh, so then you tend to go 10 different directions. So that's a distraction for me. The things that become difficult as far as tech wise and stuff like that, when that gets to be a problem, then that makes it hard to want to stay consistent just because of those other struggles. And then I think, yes, the whole, just that fear of putting out content that you're comfortable with and that you feel like you have a good knowledge base, and so that you're providing people with accurate information and helpful information. And then that kind of, you start to question yourself. So those would be things that hold me back.
This one is kind of a loaded question and you might not be able to answer it, but I just want you to think about if you did know what your answer would be. And that would be what would make creating content easier for you. I can give you an example. If you had a certain template where on Tuesdays of every week you use some sort of fill in the blank type of template, or you have a certain theme for your content that you would create.
Yeah, that kind of thing would definitely keep me more on track, because then I would have a good structure going into building that content, instead of, like I said, if I have too much leeway.
Next, we're going to get into your content pillars so that I can understand those. And you mentioned in the questionnaire that you get overwhelmed when you sit down to create your content, when you're not sure what topics to actually cover. You're kind of at a loss of what your audience would want from you. What I found is if you have those content pillars, it does help with that. Do you know what you would like those content pillars to be?
Well, I would say the pillars would primarily be focusing on nutrition, clearly, exercise, and self-care.
So now onto the project management software. Based on your answers from the questionnaire, it's either Trello or MeisterTask would be a good fit for you. I know in the past you've used Trello because you had that noted. And then are you comfortable with that software? Since tech is something that you struggle with, we want to make sure that we pick the software that you're going to be comfortable with so that you actually use it, which is key.
Yeah, I was, comfortable with it. And I did like it. And and having somebody else set that up for me and put that into place makes way more sense, because that's not a strong point for me. And so then my one before got a little like crazy and off track.
I'll be happy to set that up for you. Okay, let's then get into the best way that you want your Trello board set up, because there's different ways that we can do it. And again, we need to make sure that it's going to work for you, because it can't work how I like it. It needs to work into yours. So with content, we can do it either in your buckets. Let's just do the podcast, for example, because that would have more buckets in it. Your social media is not going to have quite as many, but you would have your outline, record, edit, publish, promote, and then your metrics. Or you can set it up by days of the week if you want to do batch your work type of thing. So you'd have your one card that you would move throughout your week, instead of your one card that you would move by your steps. Those are the two most common. However, if something else is popping into your mind that you feel like it would be better for you, please share that with me.
The main thing that kind of came to mind was like, I don't want it set up in a way to where I feel like I have to be taking some action every single day. There'll be certain days of the week that I am able to do more, and there'll be days of the week where I can't spend time on it. So I don't want to come back to it and be like, oh, I have to catch up from, things that maybe I should have done or was on my schedule to do different days. Does this make sense at all?
Yeah, it does make sense. You just need to be able to have the flexibility you might necessarily have dates. You just need to be able to move cards back and forth across your columns, right? You just need that flexibility. And do you feel like if you had that flexibility, it would make you more consistent with your content, because it wouldn't feel overwhelmed because you aren't behind the 8 ball?
Yes.
Okay. Then if we were to do it, what feels better, the days of the week that you would actually be in your office, or the actual silos of things that you need the big milestone pieces that you need to do with the podcast?
Probably the pieces that I need to do. So then that way my days sometimes change, when few days that are very consistent, but then there'll be other days where I can work on stuff. So if I know that I can just come to that board and be like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I know I need to work on next, and I can do that.
The final thing that we're going to talk about is your repeatable content plan. This is what you'll use each month to create your content calendar. Let's talk about your content calendar. So have your social media in there. And would it be easier for you to create your content calendar in there, or would it be easier for you if you had a Google Sheet or a Google Doc that you could print out and then scribble in your thoughts on how you would like your content to be for the month? which way would be easy for you to plan it out?
I think what seems to resonate with me that feels right just off the top of my head would be to do like a calendar that I print out and that I write in, scheduling that way.
Well, I hope you found this behind the scenes helpful to you and it gives you an idea on creating your content system. If you would like to book a content system session for yourself, the link will be down below in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you and I hope you have a wonderful week. Yay! Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found this episode valuable and learned some actionable tips that you can implement in your business so that you can feel accomplished and less stressed. If you enjoyed this show, please take a quick minute to share this with your business bestie, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps me reach more business owners just like you. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please reach out to me on my website. I've created a form just for you. Remember, with the right system and mindset, you can achieve the success your heart desires. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to chatting with you next time. I appreciate you and I hope you have a wonderful week. And don't forget, let's grow, friends.